We are live. Welcome, everybody. Happy January 3rd. Hope you had an amazing new year and holiday season. And what a better time to leap into the conversation we're going to have today so that all of us who are looking at what we want 2023 to be, boy, do we have some tools for you. It's like a used car salesman. I got a tool for you. So welcome. My name's Sarah Grandinetti. For those of you who don't know or aren't watching on my page, and my name's right there. And I'm joined by my dear friend, Marilyn Bradford.
Hi, Marilyn. Thank you for having me, Sarah. Always fun to chat with you. Always creation.
Thank you for saying yes. So I wanted to just kind of give a little background of why we're here today, guys. So you might recognize Marilyn's beautiful face or her name from the Right Recovery for You book that is all over Access Consciousness and has been there for how many years, Marilyn?
I think 9. I'm not terrific on dates, but more or less.
9 years. So awesome. And for 9 years, I'm speaking for myself today. I have looked at that book and I've seen the specialty of Right Recovery for You. And I was like, that's not for me. Like, I've never had a problem with alcohol abuse or drug abuse or anything. I was like, that's for those people. Okay. So any of you who are listening right now that have thought about Right Recovery for You as for those people, not that those people are wrong, but those people require something different than you require, please stay for this conversation because I am going to turn it upside down today with my friend Marilyn. So I have Marilyn come on my podcast because we have people that listen to our podcast that could really use some recovery tools for their drug and alcohol addiction. So it made total sense. It wasn't for me. I didn't need you on my podcast. I just needed to, spread the love or the awareness of these tools for those people. Okay. So the story goes, I have Marilyn on my podcast and about 30 seconds into the conversation, I ask her, what is Right Recovery for You? And then for the next, 25 minutes, my brain splattered out of my ears and onto the walls because it was not what I thought it was. I had made so many conclusions around what this was, and I was avoiding it basically. And it's so funny to find out it's absolutely something that I require in my life. So keep listening. If you've ever thought that Right Recovery for You is only for people who are addicted to things like drugs and alcohol, because my friend, it is not. So Marilyn, let's once and for all dispel all myths and rumors about what Right Recovery for You is. And will you share with us what this body of work actually creates, please?
Yes, thank you. Be happy to, really happy to. One of the reasons that people, it's for them, tend to do is to protect themselves, to protect their image, to protect their perfectionism, to protect that they know they're right, basically, or actually.
That was about me, you guys.
They believe they're wrong, to being right. So I and I was diagnosed as an alcoholic. This was a godzillion years ago, did all the traditional stuff, but questioned it. Just became a psychotherapist and finally realized addiction is about anything we choose, person, place, or thing, idea, concept, belief system, to essentially transfer our trust in ourselves to something else.
Wow.
We essentially leave ourselves out of a sense of wrongness, out of a sense of not fitting in, out of a sense of, I don't know how to deal with this crazy reality. So of course it can be alcohol and drugs, but it can also be, as I said, perfectionism, being right. There are a lot of socially acceptable addictions, workaholism, making money, being the perfect family, mother, father. But it can be anything that people choose instead of being in the discomfort of being present and what they have decided they are, that they're actually not. It can be to being small and playing small. It can be to being a follower. It can be to being in control. That's one of our really big addictions, is the addiction to being in control of everyone and everything. you know, and I'm not trying to make anybody wrong here. It's just that,
Well,
yes.
go ahead. Sorry. No, finish your statement.
No, I was just going to say, it's just that addiction isn't a contribution to you being you and to the gift you be to the world. In fact, it takes you away from that completely.
Yeah. And what I wanted to highlight there, Marilyn, is I had you on my monthly program, and it was so cool to watch people ask questions, and then how even the questions started to transform because of what you're willing to be with this topic. And what I wanted to say is at some point, whether it was a meeting, so I had Marilyn on my program. After I had her on my podcast, I was like, oh my gosh, she should come on my program. And then basically from there, I was like, what else? Because this is so fascinating to me, how I could avoid something for so long that it actually totally can contribute to my life. And we were on a meeting, and you had told us that you also went through the 12-step program. Mm-hmm. And I remember asking you, and I just want you guys to hear this, anybody who's gone through any program or is also looking at these type of dependencies that Marilyn just listed. I asked Marilyn, I was like, what is the one thing you would have liked to hear that would have changed the course of how you went through recovery or getting off of a dependency for alcohol or whatever it was? And Marilyn said, in one sentence, you are not wrong. Right. And that opened up even on our podcast. So if the team's on here and wants to put the link to the podcast in here, you guys, it was widely celebrated, that podcast. So thank you, Marilyn. It opened up a conversation about parenting and how even in parenting, we do control and we do, telling our kid they're wrong so that they can be right and all of these things, and how that develops into a person possibly choosing some other dependency. So I'm wondering if you can expand a little bit even on that, of like where we start, because you also said earlier the thing that they think they are that they actually aren't. Yeah. And I'd love to hear more about that.
Well, the two topics. You're not wrong. That's okay. I love her. Totally humanoid. 18,000 topics. One of the things that I discovered after I started with Right Recovery, about the second year in, was that all of the things that I considered or looked at as possible addictions, which, as I said, can be pretty much anything, even to gardening or health or anything where you leave yourself, is that those are actually secondary addictions. And the primary addiction, and what drives almost everyone into choosing an addictive behavior and leaving themselves, is the addiction to judgment and the wrongness of self. And this is so debilitating. Now, one of the things I want to say to everyone, and particularly to parents, is we choose whatever out of what this reality says is right and wrong. Most people are doing the best they can. Okay, I would like my child to succeed in school, therefore I have to control this, and I have to tell them they're wrong if they get a D, and what if you're not wrong? What if you just have never been given the tools and the information to empower? And that's the whole thing about addictive behavior. Most of us grew up in a disempowering environment. Why? Because that's what society wants us to do. And I'm not even blaming them. It makes you controllable. If you begin to be empowered, to trust yourself, another thing that's a big no-no, then you don't have to go to the wrongness of you, because you're not comparing yourself with someone or something else or some program or some institution or some belief system that says you are less, we know best. That's a good meme. Kind of an anti-meme, actually.
We'll sell it to those guys.
And the other thing is, you can turn anything around. So if you're judging yourself, please don't do that. Just go, okay, what else could I choose? What else is possible? Where else could I go to get new information about this? What other tools could I get access to that I don't have that could change all of this?
So when you first got introduced to the tools, was was it very immediate that you started to apply them to your recovery journey, or was that kind of over time? Like, where did you have you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, I got into access consciousness, which from my perspective has the most amazing tools in the universe. Well, I was a psychotherapist in private practice at the time, and I first started applying them to my clients. Now, I'd always been a little bit weird as a psychotherapist because I was always into question, which will change everything if you've been into answer. You know, my clients would come in and they would say, I'm anxious. I have an anxiety problem. And I would say, how do you know? They would say, because that's what the doctor diagnosed. I said, let's look at it. And I would start asking things like, is it yours? Is it learned behavior from your family? What if you could change it? What does it contribute to your life? Why do you love that? So I began really applying the access consciousness tools to my clients. And then, of course, I couldn't sort of stop applying them to myself. But I would say it still took a while, because what we're talking about is completely shifting a paradigm that's not just yours, not just that which you've been taught, but it pretty much belongs to everybody around you. So that's a big shift. And then gradually it was just so natural to do that. I'm like, this works. This stuff is amazing. And that's when I approached Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, and say, could we do something with access and addiction? And he's like, sure. And that's how Right Recovery came about.
So without giving away the class, what would you, Marilyn Bradford, the author of the Right Recovery book, like people to know about this as a specialty and how it can contribute to their lives? Because my target today is truly for people to know that there's something out there for you to go beyond the image, go beyond the rightness and the wrongness and those type of things that that have such a it's almost like a refined thing where you can look at recovery or a dependency and be like, well, at least I'm not dependent on a partner. At least I'm not dependent on that. And you never actually look at total freedom. Right. So I'm wondering if you can explore a little bit, like what would someone, what could they look to receive from a Right Recovery class?
Well, we've talked about addiction. We haven't really touched that much on recovery. And recovery for me is never initially about stopping a behavior unless it's truly, like if you're doing a lot of alcohol or drugs, find a different way, become addicted to health or something, but don't judge yourself in the process. And recovery in Right Recovery for You is about recovering the gift that you are, that you have buried under belief systems. And it doesn't matter. Yes, cultures are different, and they essentially share one common goal: to make you like them and to control you. Actually, that's two goals, so that you fit in. And I don't like really to use the word robot, but in a way, if you are fitting in without questioning, if you're, well, I'm a Smith or a Tahini or whatever it is, and this is what we do, and these are what I believe in, and you're not being you, and you're not recovering the truth of you. So if there could be one thing, it's really to begin to have the tools and learn how to trust yourself, empower yourself, and move beyond another huge addiction to comparison to others. What are they doing? How do they handle this? Oh my gosh, maybe I should be doing that. That's the antithesis of recovering you. So the whole program, and there are lots of different things that I do, is really about having you step into you and choose that and choose what works for you, and just begin to trust that you know what's right for you.
I love that. I think we should meme that everywhere, because the recovering of you, that is so fucking cool. Has anybody told you how fucking cool that is? It's really fucking cool. So I know that also, like, if you're listening to this and, there are Right Recovery facilitators all around the world, correct? Like,
yes.
right? So these classes can be taken with Marilyn, and they can also be taken around the world with the Right Recovery for You facilitators. And what I'm excited about with creating what we're creating for your classes coming up is to really look at like those places, like even last night I was with my family and my son was like, he's home from college. He's like, family movie night. And I was like, okay, what are we going to watch? And we sat down, chose something together. And about 5 minutes in, I looked around and everybody is on their phone. And I was like, wow, like that pull to whatever that is. I have it too. Absolutely. I just happened to be the superior one in the moment that wasn't looking. But it's not even and for me, it's not like put your phones away, we're doing this now, but it's like, wow, like the awareness of how deep it actually goes and how those behaviors get picked up and how those dependencies get created. And what we can explore together on the stuff that we have coming up. Like if you guys are interested, shameless plug, the end of the month, we're doing a webinar with Marilyn to dive deep, and you're all invited. The link's over there somewhere. So what is your ask for Right Recovery for You and its tools and the facilitators for 2023?
Wow. My ask is that, that the tools of Right Recovery for You, which is a variation of the tools of Access Consciousness, are available for everyone in the world to choose if they desire to choose them. That's really my ask, that no one has to lack the information, the ways to change things, the concepts of things like choice and question, if they desire to choose it.
That's so cool. In creating with Marilyn, you guys, one of the beautiful things, and I touched on it a little bit already, I'm going to say it again, is there's a space of being that when she tells you you're not wrong, you might actually believe her. And we were looking at like different ways to get words out about like this live and other things we're creating. And we were like, hey, let's do it. Like, a graphic for 12 steps. What are the 12 steps for Marilyn Bradford? And what we came up with was, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're still not wrong. Hey, do you know you're not wrong? You're not wrong. And so what if we could look at 2023, whether you choose to go on and take the offerings of all Right Recovery facilitators, Marilyn Bradford, get the book. Maybe we could get the link up for the book, you guys. Someone could pop that in. Whatever is your next step, what if 2023 could be a year where you start to let go of those things that you think you have to be dependent on and instead recover you, like Marilyn invited us to, and be in the exploration of not being wrong.
Yes.
That is so big. Like when you get that, wow, nothing I've ever chosen is wrong.
Yes.
What did I know when I chose it? Like, that's amazing. So do you have any other words you like to share before we?
Well, one thing, and you can practice this with a you're not wrong, is when you're in addictive behavior, when you're in the wrongness of you, you're very contracted. So you can get the sense of that energy. And from that, you can't create very much. You can't choose very much. So as you begin to step into, oh, maybe I'm not wrong, and maybe I'm not right. Maybe I can go beyond that. Notice there's going to be an expansion of your energy. And from that space, you can create absolutely anything you desire. It's amazing. So going beyond right and wrong is not just like, okay, I'm going to go beyond right and wrong. And then I do that. No, it's like, whoa, there's all this space I didn't know there was. Oh my goodness gracious. What if you were actually aware that you were an infinite being? And I know that's a weird concept for people, but the point is, you can be so much more space. You can be so much more than you've been told you can be. And that's my wish for all of us, that we step into being more than we've been told we can be, or that we believed we can be. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And there's one clearing that I love. And I have a favorite clearing every month, but whatever. And it is, what if I decide it is not possible? You can put about blank finances, home, family, whatever, that actually is possible. That if I would allow the possibility would actualize a totally different reality beyond this reality.
I love that one.
Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, online shorts, boys, POVIDs, and beyond. So happy New Year, everyone. And thank you, Sarah, and your team. You rock. I'm so grateful that you have me on.
Me too. I'm going to put this across the bottom. So the funny words that just came out of Marilyn's mouth, if you've never heard them, they're right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all nine shorts, boys, POVIDs, and beyonds. And you can find more about what the clearing statement is at theclearingstatement.com. Marilyn, I am so, so grateful for you. Thank you for being willing to jump in and play. And yeah, what would it take for people to know this was a possibility they could choose? I love what you said there. Thank you, translators. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Can't wait to see you on our next creation. And please go check out the Right Recovery book, Right Recovery for You book. Please go check out the website, get in the Facebook group. If you're not in the Facebook group, we'll put that in the comments here too, because they've been having 30 by 30 clearings going on there. Yeah, just dive in.
Dive in. And one more thing, there's a new website coming, MarilynBradford.com, and it's got all kinds of goodies on it and free things. And I just wanted to put that in there.
Awesome. How does it get better? All right, you guys. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, translators. Thank you, everybody. We're going to go. Bye.
Bye.